Guys, we're back.
We are back.
Ooh, 2-on-1 podcast episode. Who knows? Are we in the 70s yet? We might be close to it.
I think so.
1970s?
1970s? The Habs dynasty in 1970, let me tell you.
Daniel, what were the 1970s like?
Oh, they were great. The Bell Bottoms. That new movie, The Godfather, was great.
I heard it's too long.
Yeah, probably.
I thought it should have been longer.
And with that, we'll move on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of the show. We're happy to have you back on this Canada Day. I hope everyone at home listening, I hope you two, Daniel and Alex, are going to have a great rest of your Canada Day, even though it should be NHL free agency today. There's a whole pandemic going on. I don't know if you've heard.
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
A certain province we live in has decided to bring in half a conference worth of players. We'll go into that a little later. In a
bubble.
We're in a bubble, but still, I mean, it's not like if you take the wrong turn out of Union, you're right there at Scotiabank Arena and in the middle of downtown, and with things being lifted, people talk about it later. Anyway,
okay.
Listen, we're gonna get into hub cities later. There's a lot to get to, guys, because at about 8 o'clock this morning, the Bob father started tweeting. Bob McKenzie started putting some info out there. Frank Saravelli, Elliot Friedman, CBA news, and good CBA news.
Wonderful.
Which I can't remember the last time we had that, guys. But we'll do a bit of housekeeping to start. First of all, guys, 108 views on our last episode, the live one with Mike, the draft lottery. I have rewatched our reaction to number one so many times.
It's great. I love that.
It was incredible. It was not surprising.
The best was Mike going, "It's a play-in team," and I stood up and threw my headphones off and realized, we still have a show. And that's
We're still recording a show, okay?
Yeah, we're still doing so. I thought I broke my mic, honestly, because I just screamed so loud into it.
I thought you were gonna leave the room. That's what I really thought.
If we do this and the Habs win Lafreniere, I think you won't see me for like 20 minutes.
You said you might scream in the streets. I remember you said that.
Yeah,
you said that.
There will be noise. You'll hear sirens before I come back because there will be disorderly conduct of some sort.
Would that be the same if they beat Pittsburgh, though?
No. I'll be like, whatever, you made it in, congratulations, but I don't think I'd be that excited. We'll talk about that later as well because Alex is not happy about certain teams rooting for their own squads to lose. Final bit of housekeeping before we get to the power hour in the main part of the show. Guys, F1, it's race week. Austrian Grand Prix. Quickly, who do you guys have winning the race? Lewis Hamilton. Good. Daniel, who do you have?
Alex Albon.
All right, that's good. I'm going with Valtteri Bottas, by the way. Lewis has never done well at Austria, apparently. I think he got fourth last year. It is normally a Red Bull track, apparently, Daniel. So Alex Albon, still looking for that first one.
If it's a Red Bull track, it's Max Verstappen.
What?
I said if it's a Red Bull track and a Red Bull wins it, it's going to be Max Verstappen.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to keep your reference.
Sorry, nice. Alex Albon.
It's Valtteri. Well done. Love him. But, hey, we'll go straight to the hockey now. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's what people are listening for.
Well, you never know. There's going to be more and more F1. I'm telling you this right now.
Probably, yeah.
It's like, I don't know about you guys, but the way I feel about hockey right now as a relationship status is I think hockey needs to work on itself.
It's complicated.
Yeah, and right now I'm flirting with F1, and we're going along really well. That's all I'll say.
It's trying to win you back, Adam.
We'll see.
All of this effort, the CBA.
Give me Lafreniere, and I'll be back for life. I'll tell you that. But, guys, speaking of Lafreniere, we're a few days removed from the draft lottery and finding out that a placeholder team was awarded the first overall pick and a chance to select Alexis Lafreniere in this draft. How are you guys feeling a few days removed?
I don't mind it at all. It's a draft lottery. Right? It's a draft. It's a lottery. It's in the thing. If you buy – I don't remember who said it. It might have been Adam Wild. But if you buy a lottery ticket and you lose, are you going to complain that you didn't win the lottery? Probably not. Probably not. Is it surprising that a placeholder team won? Not necessarily. I think I was telling you, I realized the day after or the night of that the placeholder teams combined had a 24.5% chance of winning the first overall pick if you added the numbers all together from team A to team H. Detroit, who had the highest individual odds, had 18.5%. So I don't know why this was like there was almost a quarter, like 25 times out of 100 this was going to happen.
How do you feel about it, Daniel?
I think like after listening to 31 Thoughts, I guess like Alex's I guess rationale with this, it really kind of connects to what Elliot Freeman kind of said. Like, it is the lottery, it is what it is, and you guys, like, you know, that's the system. This is like what we have. You can't complain about it. And then I love Jeff Merrick when he said he loves the chaos. He loves like this new added like drama or side story to everything that's going on. Like, of course, this would happen in 2020.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry,
go ahead,
just
Alex,
quickly.
sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think if I look at the system that the league has implemented, I don't know if I necessarily agree with every single thing that's in the draft system, draft lottery. Like, I think there's tweaks that could be made, but I think overall, I'm not going to complain about a placeholder team getting first overall. I think based on the system, it's a system. I think we're in a very weird, unprecedented time. That, you know what, that's fine.
I think I saw, I might have been talking about on Hockey Central Noon on Monday, that specific pick was, I think, the lowest odds to ever have won first overall. And what's funny, by the way, for those of you who don't know, if, you know, there was actual standings and actual teams attached, that would have been Winnipeg's pick. So thank God the Jets might not get Lafreniere. Or they might still, depending on if they lose to Calgary or not. But boy, can you imagine Lafreniere on a ELC on that team? Oh no,
that'd be deadly. I'm writing something for my blog about the worst. What would the worst teams to get Winnipeg to get Lafreniere be? Like, in terms of what teams would people hate the most? Toronto, Edmonton, Pittsburgh.
Edmonton.
Yeah.
Those are my three teams. I think, Edmonton would be my number one.
It's kind of fun. It's like, it depends on like who we ask on, like, I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing. It's just like, what is your opinion on Toronto?
Yeah.
As a city versus like your opinion.
Well, everyone hates Toronto. Everyone not in Toronto hates Toronto.
Yeah.
I was listening to Good Show. They had Justin Bourne on. And they were making the argument that I think if you go south of the border and you ask a lot of the hockey fans which team they would hate to get Lafreniere, a lot of them would say Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with the best player.
It's just unfair.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hi there, Sidney Crosby, who's still amazing, Evgeny Malkin. Have this elite prospect.
Yeah, it'd be really funny because Sid was drafted towards the tail end of Lemieux's career, and obviously Crosby's not necessarily at the tail end, but he could go on for who knows how long. But he's in the back nine of his career.
This is a random reference, but I think it makes sense.
Is it about
the same? No, it's about basketball.
Oh, okay.
If that were to happen, this would be the same thing that actually there are two instances where Magic Johnson goes first overall to the Lakers, and they already have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the twilight of his career. Yeah. And then same thing, too, when the Spurs got Tim Duncan first overall with David Robinson's tail end of his career. Where it just comes when it needs to, like, when it happens.
If it happens, I think the NHL would make it a really big story.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, yeah, like, I think Sid it was Lemieux's last year, and he even lived in his giant mansion. Yeah. Apparently he did for a lot longer than just that last year too. But you know, both from Rimouski, you know, Lafreniere was there for Sidney Crosby's QMJHL retirement jersey ceremony. I mean, the pieces are there, guys, and you know, a young fan growing up in Quebec sees, you know, another guy tear it up in the queue. I mean, you can't help, and the fact it's Sidney Crosby, you know, Lafreniere's going to look up to him. And oh boy, even if you put him with Malkin, it's just it's so insane. But hey, you talked about Jeff Merrick a little bit earlier. Jeff Merrick, Rachel Dory, Elliot Friedman. A lot of people have been saying if there's a good story, it's the Frenchman coming home. And oh boy, we'll
I don't
see.
think you've mentioned that enough, Adam.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Only change the name
Twitter
of our group chat.
Yeah.
I only change the name of our group chat. Just
I don't get. Oh yeah, I renamed it. Bring the Frenchman home. Forgot about that.
I read that every time I see a message from
I'm like,
the
who the
chat
hell
now.
is messaging?
Like, okay.
I'm like, what is this? And then I realized that Adam changed.
Another. Speaking of change,
Yeah.
I don't like how Steve Yzerman has changed. As in, he's older, he shaved his head, but
What's wrong
man,
with
he
shaved
still
heads?
has.
Nothing.
with shaved
Nothing,
heads?
Daniel. Don't worry.
Nothing. Okay.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Daniel. No, I just like, he looked really good with his old hair. Like Yzerman's a good-looking dude. Right?
It's the pandemic haircut.
Yeah, he also has the he's got a sharp tongue. You know, there's some good, like Doug McLean had some really good stories of Steve Yzerman back in the day.
Yeah.
But this is I'm just going to read you a tweet from Max Bultman on Twitter at @m_Bultman. Underrated moment in the Yzerman press conference was when he was talking about how no teams have had the testing they normally would have gotten at the combine. Quote, every team but one, actually. And that, of course, is the Arizona Coyotes, who, I believe, have still not been punished for allegedly.
No, they're still investigating.
Yeah,
obviously.
for allegedly scouting prospects.
I think it was. I can't remember. It was on Hockey Central for sure. That they were talking about the situation, and I want to say it was Burke, but it could have been someone else. That Arizona has to share all the information they have on the prospects to all 30 other teams.
Oh my gosh.
That should be part of the punishment.
I like that. I really do like that. They should give up a pick. They should be penned like that's so uncool.
Well,
see
let's
it this
see.
way. They did it all for Barrett Hayden, and they still went off the board with him.
Well, the question is, is the NHL going to actually punish them, or are they going to go the route of the MLB and the NFL? And when a team is outright cheating, just give them a light slap on the wrist.
And then just clean house internally.
Yeah.
If you want to look at stuff being done illegally, just look at Ilya Kovalchuk, the New Jersey Devils, and Lou Lamoriello to see how the NHL.
No, Lou doesn't have.
I was about to say that.
Don't talk about Lou, okay? Lou is perfect.
All right. Well, I mean,
I still can't believe they gave Kovalchuk a 17-year extension. Just like, that's insane.
there's a really funny tweet of Kovalchuk can't wait to be paid by 4 teams today. What a legend. Here's another kind of legend, or a young, maybe one day he will be a legend. But guys, will he be a Buffalo legend, or will he move on? Jack Eichel, guys, he's not getting traded.
Shut up. Everyone shut up.
Like we joked about it with Mike a few episodes ago. We were like,
we're allowed to joke about it.
And it was like a Chiri Lehkonen and Drek Kulak for like it just. But he's not getting dealt. I don't know why people are throwing this around.
Unless, it might be like, I feel like it's going to be like a Jacob Trouba situation where it's like he's going to ask for it and then they're not going to say anything about it until they're like, all right, maybe we actually got to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading, like, these are like legitimate people writing this, not like the three of us talking about it on a podcast. Talking about, what would it take for him to get traded for Boston to get him? And then I saw another one. What would it take for San Jose to get him? Like, shut up.
Another lottery, another top 5 pick.
No one, like, if they trade Jack Eichel, like, they've just said, we don't know what we're doing with our team.
They're
moving to Sabres, another city.
It goes against everything the Bakulas kind of said when they, did all that bloodletting. They said there wasn't a rebuild. It just happened coincidentally, line up with Eichel making some certain comments a few weeks before. It
would go completely against the idea that they needed to sign him to 8 years.
Mm-hmm. Which, hey, by the way, that contract is looking better and better.
Yeah.
Alex, there's a bit of update with the CHL and the whole lawsuit that Dan Kershaw was leading.
Yeah, sorry. Let me pull this up quickly. the CHL announced that they're going to form a panel to deal with abuse after lawsuit. That's the headline. Sorry. So this part of the statement. We're deeply troubled by the allegations in the recently announced class action, which is run by Carcillo and one other player. I don't remember who and Garrett Taylor. Sorry. Many of which are historic in nature and we believe are not indicative of the leading experience our players receive in the NHL today. Regardless of the timing, we are taking the claims very seriously, as the protection of our players has been and will always be our primary concern. So this independent review panel is going to examine current policies and practices that relate to hazing, abuse, harassment, and bullying, and the allegation that players do not feel comfortable reporting behaviors that contravene the policies. I feel like they don't understand what's going on. Because every time we talk about these incidents come up, we're told time and time again that hazing is banned from the CHL.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to review? In your sting, it says hazing or whatever, however it has to be worded the absolute weirdest way for this to just still be happening. So it's obviously not the policy that's the issue.
I'm a little lost what you're saying there.
They're reviewing policies that say there should not be hazing that there's no hazing or whatever will not be tolerated in the CHL. It's clearly not the policy that's the issue. The policy has stated there should be no hazing, yet there's still hazing. It's not the policy, it's the culture of hockey. So try figure that one out first instead of reviewing a policy like.
It's definitely been a story that all of a sudden a lot of people have forgotten about because the NHL are starting to make such waves coming back again. But Jesus, it's such an issue we need to keep in mind, and it needs to be front and center stage because, again, we've talked about this, whether it starts at the NHL level, whether it starts at the CHL level. Regardless, each league needs to sort out hazing. They need to sort out, players reporting these issues, being comfortable, being, feeling like they can get help with that. It's so important for these young guys especially. And I agree with you, Alex. Yeah, they need to not focus on the policy but solving the problem itself. Yeah. Daniel, anything to add?
Yeah, I kind of feel too. It's kind of like a blanket statement kind of thing. Like they're not really tackling their issue. It's a very like media-based thing where they're showing like, oh, we're doing something and maybe we'll add this here as a policy, but they're not looking at like what Alex has said, like every single level kind of deals with this. Like it's a kind of a thing where like you have to kind of treat it in a different way that how you approach the sport, not that, okay, we'll wait until like, they're at this competitive level already where they're already at a point in their life where, some of these guys, they're not at home. They're living on their own now. The team is all they know. That, you got to change that, like what's appropriate for each team, not just saying, all right, let's just police these guys even further.
I think, in my opinion, they're doing the bare minimum. And the bare minimum it was not enough before. And it's not enough now. You know what they can do? They can follow the NHL's lead and say, we're going to create they haven't done it yet. It's in the works. I don't know when this is coming. The anonymous tip line. Do you remember after the Akeem Alou situation came out, they said we're going to create this anonymous tip line for players to come out and it'll be completely anonymous?
I vaguely remember it, yeah.
How about that? How about that?
Yeah,
that seems quite basic.
Yeah,
but
it reminds me of
our policies.
When the whole thing came out with Bill Peters. I remember he was really criticized Brad Trevling, where in the press conference he's like, "We're ready to put this behind us and go back to playing hockey," and it's like, is that the important thing right now?
Well, I think for the Flames, like. Yeah. Obviously in that situation, you should like acknowledge like, hey, probably should have done a bit more research into that and But at the same time, I think like at that point, I think the Flames are having a pretty rough like point in the year.
Yeah.
I think for them it really was like we need to get going here, right? And I understand that.
Yeah, I think it was a really touchy subject, and it was so crazy to me when Montgomery got let go.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first questions I was asked was, and he had to clearly say he wasn't let go for any, like we've never heard that. We've never heard he was let go for like he wasn't let go for any type of racism or things along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like the conference.
They really had to disclose like why when he was dismissed. I remember they really had to disclose like every detail just to ensure that it's not the same like, pattern.
And I think it was like a board of governors meeting or a GM meeting that like media were talking to Bettman. He said something else is coming, and they had put like the policy or whatever, and Friedman had asked, "Is there any?" Or he'd phrased the question where he had messed it up, but you could tell there was another one coming. But again, Jim Montgomery was nothing like there. I'm hesitant to say, but like you can read up on Jim Montgomery, how he's doing all that kind of story. That's not what we want to talk about today. But hey, the guy's gotten help, which is all you really want to see in that situation. He's getting better. And players liked him. He seemed like a genuine good person. But guys, let's see, Alex, do you want to talk about some teams possibly tanking now, or would you?
I'll do it now.
All right.
I think this is my opinion. I don't know how many people will agree with me because I feel like it's such a negative. It's not the hockey type opinion, but the fact that fans of teams are saying you want to lose the game, lose the first round, it seems so weird. And in my opinion, because this doesn't this rarely happens in other sports. I remember hearing the Miami Dolphins were going to tank this year so they can draft Tua. I don't remember his last name. I can't say his last name, but Tua. If you know football, you know Tua. And they ended up getting him, but they ended up getting him at 5th. But they were supposed to tank and get him. Last year, the New York Knicks tried to tank, and karma bit them in the ass. They drafted 4th overall or 3rd overall, got R.J. Barrett, and Kyrie and KD didn't even want to play for the Knicks. They walked 20 minutes the other way and joined Brooklyn. So I think this puts a sour taste in a lot of other sport fans' mouths, knowing that there's a chance, and for a chance to make it to the playoffs, and in a league that praises itself on parity year after year after year after year after year. And you're telling me that you need to lose the first round? If I'm someone watching and looking at what's going on with the fans, I have an absolute sour taste in my mouth because they want to lose instead of win.
You know who never had that approach?
Brian Burke.
Billy Beane.
Yeah, he cheated the Rookie of the Year All-Star. Right? Great money. Okay, so let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
What about when the Leafs were taken for Austin Matthews? Were you rooting for them to lose then?
I don't like my team losing.
But were you rooting for them to tank to get off?
I mean, I think for that, I don't know. Yeah, that was a fun year to me.
But the thing is we're in a scenario where you can win 3 games. I'm not talking about tanking during the regular season. I mean, the league already has issues with tanking. That's so evident. That's why they had to implement a draft lottery.
Like the Ottawa Senators of the 90s.
Sorry, I don't know. I may have misheard, but but to my question though.
Yeah, the answer to your question, what I'm telling you is tanking in the regular season and then tanking here when you have a chance to make the playoffs.
Okay, but you specifically, when the Leafs were tanking.
No, I didn't like it when they were losing every game. I did not like watching my team lose every game.
But we have to remember Mike Babcock said there's going to be growing pains.
Okay, but were you not? So you're telling me at no point in time you were excited when you realized they had the best odds?
Sure, but if the Leafs, wait, when the Leafs,
no, let me finish my question first, Alex. You're telling me there was never a point in time where you were like, yes, their odds are that much better when they're.
Yeah, but
okay.
But if I'm the Leafs, I'm just telling you what other sports fans are thinking. That's it.
Okay.
This doesn't happen in any other sport. When do you ever hear a basketball fan except James Dolan say, I want my team to lose? I don't hear it in football. I rarely hear it in baseball. Soccer, no. That's all I'm saying.
My counter argument here would be that, listen, if you're tanking during the regular season, right?
Yeah.
Then you are trying your best, right? But then you never know how the lottery is going to go.
Yeah.
The only reason in this scenario that I'd be like, you know what? If you want your team to I don't think, like Caps or Blues fans are frothing at the mouth for them to lose to get Lafreniere. Those are championship caliber teams. When you're a team like Chicago or Montreal, and if you lose, it's not a lottery shot. You have an equal shot from other teams to get first overall.
Right.
I think it's a much different story. And I understand what you mean. I don't hear it from other sports, but I mean,
never.
That's just hockey though. That goes to like the league level, right? That's not just fans. That's just the way.
No, I think it's partially fans.
No,
I think yes. I think they put the draft lottery system because teams were tanking.
Yeah,
but for
like the example I used,
right? For fans to say, I want my team to lose, doesn't look good to other fans. It doesn't. It's just simple. If I went up to a basketball fan and said, I have a chance to make the playoffs or I have the chance to get the first overall pick, and I said, I want my team to lose.
I think it's a bit unfair because no other league is doing this exact circumstance. Like the NHL is so.
But just even tanking in general.
Well, then I think you have to. I think I can't blame fans there. I can't do that.
Why not?
Because
the league is trying to stop tanking. The league has tried to stop tanking.
Really wanted to do it, they would fix the lottery like Brian Burke has suggested.
Yeah.
How in the hell the New Jersey Devils won 2 first-round picks within 3 years of each other? The Oilers for how long? If the
4
NHL,
years.
Their way of designing the league, if they really wanted to change, they would change the lottery, which they have not done.
Which they have not.
As a fan, I am cheering my best the way the game and the parity has been designed by the league running it. That's just how
it still puts a sour. Okay, that's fine, but it still puts a sour taste. It doesn't matter. A basketball fan doesn't know how hockey leagues works. But if I'm reading comments on Twitter that says I want my team to lose, you're telling me that doesn't put a sour taste in someone else's mouth.
I don't care.
But the whole point, we're trying to bring more people into the game. Right.
I think if you are getting if you look at that scenario and you think, as opposed to if you don't realize the fact that now all of these 16 fan bases are now excitingly waiting for this draft. If you think that is not drawing the amount of people that you are losing from tanking, I think you're ridiculous. Like the PR the league are getting from this is going to bring more fans in than the ones on Twitter saying, "Oh, guys want their team to lose." Like. People think sports fans already are insane, right? Yeah. That's not going to change it, right? And you're going to get your hardcores no matter what. It's about drawing in the casual fans. Mm-hmm. And I think they care a lot more about this kind of stuff than, they're not going to go on Twitter and see, the Habs fans saying, I'm not, me and Will Baldwin say, Carrie, shit, go home, go spend time with the kids. Let's lose here, right? I can't blame fans, Alex, personally. I can't. And do
you think it's about the market? Sorry, I just thought of this. Because, what I get from this is, I just keep thinking of the Coyotes, where I know they have never really, I don't think they've won the lottery. And
I think they've always
ever,
lost.
yeah. But the thing is, it's that kind of thing where I guess you balance it out with when we think of, those casual fans, you get the Hall, you get the Kessel on this team that's not very functional. Hasn't worked, but you have those names that, sell the team to,
But is Lafreniere really going to bring in – you think a guy in Arizona says – look, it's Alexis Lafreniere. And he says, I want to go watch the hockey game? Probably not. Like I think there's really one name, maybe two names that fix Arizona.
Austin Matthews,
Connor McDavid, and Austin Matthews.
It's Arizona's an example for other. Like Daniel, I have a problem with you bringing up Arizona because that's
to the cap, yeah.
Like that is a cursed team to me. Like to this day, will not understand. Like I cannot fathom why you have not moved that team. Screw it. Send it to Houston or Quebec City. I don't care. Like put it in a position to succeed, which they have not done with the.
They're not going to do that.
I can give you another
example. Not going to do that.
But like another example is 2006, 2007 Chicago Blackhawks. Like I remember Patrick Sharp before said like he had to be outside the arena before the game to try to sell tickets.
Really?
Well, yeah, they were good. I guess really bad.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I see it like this, and we'll just quickly give our final thoughts because we do have a lot to get to. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I will give you this, Alex. Winning is what brings in the crowd. It's what brings in your stars in free agency. At the same time, though, you need to draft, you need to develop, and if you have this golden opportunity, I think you go for it. And I could care less what a basketball fan
thinks. Fine. Sorry.
Yeah, that's just my thought.
I just don't see how. Yeah, I get the draft lottery brings it. The second one brings attention now, but it's a matter of keeping those fans. So how are you going to keep those fans when you know half the markets in the U.S. have trouble bringing in fans? So a guy in Arizona is going to watch the 30-minute second draft lottery and then what? Tune into an Arizona Coyotes game that we don't know when it's going to be determined because they don't know when the 2020-2021 season is going to start. That's the thing. Yeah, it's going to draw in fans for that one particular thing, but it's a matter of, okay, how am I going to keep that fan? How am I going to keep those fans that I just brought in for next season or for the rest of the playoffs? When you're knowingly competing with the NBA, you potentially competing with the MLB. Depending on how far this goes, you could be competing with the NFL. So, yeah, it's going to draw in fans for that 30-minute or whatever, how long that thing's going to be. But how are you going to keep them for the rest of the playoffs and then have them back next year?
Daniel.
Yeah, kind of. Same thing, yeah, we've been talking about too. Just like drawing in the more fans. It is always an interesting thing when you talk about the NHL because, it is a different beast compared to the other leagues. We're, comfortably – hint, Leaf and Habs fans, right? So we don't really think about these other situations where, you see in these other American cities where they'll have the teams that do win, but at the same time, they have to be consistent with those big name guys or, like you guys said, that winning record to really bring in the fans. Like right now, you take away Taves, take away Kane. I would not watch a Blackhawks game. I mean, maybe out of the pure fandom that we already have inherently, but for the people, I guess, of Chicago, I wouldn't watch a game.
I love it. On one side of my Zoom screen is Alex, the other side is me, and right in the middle, being calm, is Daniel. But I guess we'll quickly go here because today is supposed to be free agency. Frank Saravelli, head of the PWHA and, of course, of TSN, has put his top 50 summer UFAs up. We're going to look at the top 10 guys. So would you like to start at 1 or would you like to start at 10?
10.
All right. Number 10 on the list, guys. Tyson Barrie of the Toronto Maple Leafs, a right-handed defenseman. He is currently making $5.5 million. Now, the cap hit's a bit weird because it's split between that. But this is a defensive defenseman who not probably had a really bad year in Toronto, but...
Yeah.
He's a what? You cut out there for me.
Who did not have a good year in Toronto.
No, before that. He's a what? I didn't hear what you said.
Right-handed defenseman, offensive.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. I don't know how...
A sixth forward.
6'4". Yeah. I don't know, how would we because it's so difficult to try and think of what a contract would look like because the next 3 years, the market, I don't know what it's going to look like. But, I mean, who do you guys think is a team? Maybe Vancouver because why not? that could maybe look for the services of Tyson Barrie, Alex.
Probably Vancouver is one of those teams. Whoever's looking for a power play quarterback is looking at Tyson Barrie, and who's actually going to use him properly.
Daniel the Manual, what do you think?
Yeah, either Vancouver, because I remember all of those trade rumors at the deadline, when we all thought everything was okay. And honestly, I read something, I forgot who it was from, but they said Arizona because, Alex Goligoski's going up in age. Yeah. He's the current right-hand guy who quarterbacks everything. Maybe do something with, find the Stefan Robida Island with Alex Goligoski's contract and then bring in Tyson Barrie as your new quarterback.
Hey, OEL, Barrie, Chychrun? That's not a bad defensive core.
How are they going to afford that? That's the question.
Yeah, especially after they may have to pay all these fines for these illegal testing. Number 9, a player who Harman Dayal, we talked to, about this player, a great addition for the Canucks. Tyler Toffoli, right winger, makes 4.6 right now. Had a solid year, put 24 points before the season went down. The guy who really thrived in the new environment. But does he stay in Vancouver, guys?
I think they really make a push for him. Based on what Harman said, I think they really make a push to keep Toffoli. But I guess it depends on what they do with Markstrom and Tanev.
Yeah, I think it's a wait and see situation where this reminds me of, remember when the Jets got Paul Stastny? You're like, man, that fit right there. It was so good. The chemistry. They're like, oh, we're definitely going to bring him back. So I think it's a wait and see kind of situation where the Canucks going to be when they have to deal with everything else. Can they really bring him back, and can they give him the term and the money he really wants? But I'd love to see him back.
Yeah, there's a weird part of me. I know I was critical of the deal. Still think it was the wrong one. But if he's happy there, regardless, he got a new sense of scenery. He was having a great year because he had some pretty down ones in LA. If he takes a discount, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd like to see him. We'll put the next two together, though, because they are both right wingers for Florida, making 5.19 is Hoffman, if getting Dadonov, $4 million. We talked about this a few times throughout the year, but I think it's fair to say the Panthers will try and keep one of them. And guys, who would you guess they would try and keep between these two snipers?
I think they really try hard to keep Hoffman. I mean, he's only a year younger, but I think Mike Hoffman's the better player, if I'm being honest. But they could end up with Dadonov. I don't know if they're going to offer Hoffman.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they'll offer either of them what they want. They might end up having both of them walk simply because they got to get rid of money.
I just thought of a joke. In a way, I'm like, you go for Mike Hoffman, and it's the same situation as after they got Dadonov in the 2008 draft. He was there for a few years. He went to the KHL, then came back. So I'm like, you just expect him to do that again.
There you go. Yeah, by the way, Mike Hoffman, great hair. I saw somebody say that the Fab should try and sign him.
I sent you that.
Oh, that was you? I don't know about that. Oh, I remember what I told you now in that text. I don't know about Mike Hoffman.
I mean, he put up 29 goals this year.
Yeah, hey, he'll get you the easy goal. A great guy for the power play.
It sounds like Montreal needs goals, and this guy scores them.
They do. Next, we'll go to one of the two goaltenders on this top 10 list. Robin Lehner, currently with the Vegas Golden Knights. He makes I messed up my tab. I can't see, but anyway.
$5 million.
$5 million, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas found a way to hold on to this guy, and then they go with a Fleury platoon, and no one wins a game against him ever again.
I don't know, but that's a tough one.
Because I think he wants to be to be the guy.
He wants to be the 1A to the 1B. He wants the term. He wants the money. Listen, I don't want to get ahead of Fleury, obviously.
A favorite of the show.
He could potentially, turn it around. Yes, you know what? Didn't have the best year this year, right? That's kind of why they brought him in. But if you look at the two goalies, who would you rather have, Fleury or Leonard?
I'd rather Leonard.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Do you think a team would be – get out of here. Do you think a team would be willing to take Fleury on?
Someone would.
Honestly, man, I'm being serious. Like when I said like Fleury, though, like I know he had like a down season, but he's the proven winner. I know he's a bit higher in age. I mean, quite a bit, but he's still the guy for me. Like he's a proven winner, and the way that team is built, it's like they're not going to be thinking about, okay, how is this going to look in like 3 years? They're going to go for it. Like Paul Stanley's like what, turning 33 this year?
Yeah. No, he's 34. He's going to turn 30.
Okay.
He's going to turn 35 at the end of the year.
Yeah. Well, so they have Max Pacioretty, who's like, 31 now?
Yes, sir.
Drafted the same
Mark
year,
Stone in his prime. Like, you go for it.
But because I'd argue Leonard is in his prime right now, whereas Fleury's on the backside of his back nine of his career is an understatement, more like the back three.
I wonder if maybe Leonard, if the Flames, because I feel like they're going to give, if he ends up in free agency, they give Braden Holtby a call. I think if there's a goaltender, Calgary's like, hello. And
I keep thinking Buffalo
or Carolina. No one's going to Buffalo.
I keep thinking that. I'm like, and the way they kind of treated him there, he's never going back.
No.
Speaking of players and organizations disagreeing about how they were treated, Dustin Byfuglien will not make $7.6 million again.
Probably not.
I think it's a good chance that the team takes a chance on him. And really, I think every team should be calling Dustin Byfuglien.
Yeah, I think most teams will end up calling him.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Arizona. I know he's not the quarterback guy, but that's it feels like Arizona just needs fire to me, and I don't think there's a player that will bring more energy to your lineup than Dustin Byfuglien.
Listen, I said it. Chicago is going to sign Dustin Byfuglien. They're going to re-sign. They're going to re-sign Corey Crawford. They got Andrew Shaw. They got Tyson Kane. They have Brendan Saad. Who else do they need? The boys are back together. Who are they missing?
They got to bring back Chris Versteeg.
They need get Chris Versteeg out of retirement. Let's put him back. Andrew Ladd, call up Lou, okay?
Marian Hossa. Yeah.
Marian Hossa is your coach. This is it. They don't need Jeremy Colton. They need Marian Hossa.
I talked about it before, but Dustin Byfuglien's a guy that I saw it in two ways. That he's a guy that you need against, if the Leafs are going to face the Bruins, he's a guy that the Leafs need, but at the same time, too, he fits so well with the Bruins.
Stop it.
Because he wants to win.
Go home.
So I see those two options.
That's a fair one. We'll move on to a key. This team's arguably their MVP. Jacob Markstrom of the Vancouver Canucks is going to get a raise from 3.67. It just depends on how much and if Vancouver are willing to give the term, as the Athletic's Harman Dial said when he was on this show. Go check that episode out. Yeah. Guys, I think I talked about how I wish they could keep Tyler Toffoli, but I think if you're choosing between, as you were kind of saying earlier, Alex, between Toffoli or Markstrom, if I'm them, I'm going after Markstrom because Demko's not proved it yet.
Yeah.
DiPietro hasn't either. And
still a youngin'.
And again, it's if you want something good on your team, you have a good puck mover, they have that. You need centers, they got that. And you need a goalie. AKA, look at the Sharks, they didn't have that.
And well, they didn't have it, and they still made it to the Cup final.
No, but Martin
just
Jones
out of sheer will. Yeah, Martin Jones was okay that year.
He was good.
I have a soft spot for him, though. 2010 World Junior alumni.
There we go. What World Junior was he a part of?
Hold on a minute.
He was the backup goalie to Jake Allen that year.
It was 27. No, it was
16-7. No, 15-17.
Yeah.
Was it 16-17?
I don't think it was that because he only played – no, 17 was the Preds. I think it's 15-16 because he played 24 games where he had a 2.1 goals against average and a 923 save percentage.
It's not bad.
He was good back
How many shots did he have against him?
What? 631.
But that was also when the Penguins are rolling out like 3 scoring lines.
That's true.
Stop. Jones was good back then. I'm not even or whatever. But yeah, Markstrom, he should stay. An interesting one, because if there was a guy that we were all hoping, or the Bruins would hope would take a pay cut, it's Torrey Krug.
He's gonna stay. He's gonna stay.
Like, if there was any sort of question about if he would stay or not, now like players are gonna probably be uncomfortable to go somewhere else in such an uncertain time. I think now, it's weird to say, but I think the pandemic's actually sealed Torrey Krug staying in Boston, and I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it so much.
it's a time to not.
Sorry.
Time to take risks, I think.
No. With his
market,
new defensive partner,
especially with like
Dustin
the cap
Buffalo.
not moving. Yeah.
All right.
Unless he goes to the Leafs.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just had this imagination, like Dustin Byfuglien and Kyle Clifford against the Bruins. Like, that'd be great.
I'm fine with that.
Element of grit there.
The second coming of Fraser McLaren and Colton Orr of 2013.
Okay. We got 2 really interesting players here.
Yeah.
We have, and we'll start with Taylor Hall, a guy who I think on this podcast we've kind of come together. And correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. Taylor Hall is not nearly as good as some people think he is, and man, really, I don't know who signs him, and I hope to God it's not the Habs.
Oh, someone will sign him. Someone, and you know who might do it? You brought this team up before. Calgary.
I was thinking, because they want to, apparently if this year wasn't going to go its way, they were moving on. They were going to shake up the core. Move out Johnny Gaudreau for something special, and then, I don't know, or Sean Monahan, and then bring in Taylor Hall as a replacement? Why not?
Well, I think they could do some damage. I don't think the Flames were as bad as they were this year.
They just underachieved in more times.
I think Lindholm was good. Monahan and Gaudreau are good. Like, I just think they had off years, and I think they're done with having, like, even in years previous they had good regular seasons, but when it came to the postseason, I mean, last year they ran into the Avalanche, right? That was a little unlucky there.
That was the run that made me think Nathan McKinnon's the best player in the world.
Yeah, they got it. Well, what?
Yeah. So how about this, Alex and Daniel? Also, we haven't seen that beefed up blue line healthy with the additions of Derek Forbort and Eric Gustafsson made the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They could be, and maybe Big Save Dave goes on the run, boys. Let's go.
He better. That's what I think a lot. Like, you do have to have a good goal, at least a decent goalie.
Sorry, guys. I don't mean to interrupt you again, but I forgot we're talking about Taylor Hall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just there's so many stories with Calgary that we think about, like, man.
Yeah.
Like, they should be better based on, like, what they have.
Oh, yeah. The comparison this year was Toronto West. I mean, it'd be nice if Gaudreau showed up. And forget about Taylor Hall. Whatever.
Number 1 defenseman of the 2015 draft, Noah Hannafin.
I feel bad for him.
I heard he was going to get traded. Right?
Yeah.
We were talking
He's always on the block.
around the deadline.
Yeah. Because he was supposed to be, I think you told me this, Alex. He was supposed to be part of the, what was it? I can't remember. There was some deal and he was going to be part of it, and we all yelled, "What are you doing?" Sorry. Okay, well, we'll move on to the last, because we still have to talk about the CBA stuff and, like, all the big news. Alex Pietrangelo, I was talking to Mike about this. He's convinced that Pietrangelo's gone.
So am I. You don't sign Justin Falk, re-sign Marco Scandella, and have nothing, have little money. Mm-hmm. That doesn't it doesn't seem to make sense. Like, I'll pull up their cap hit right now. You know, they have $2 million in projected cap space, and that's at 81.5. They have to re-sign Vince Dunn.
What I know we were looking at there was a certain, I forget which player it was, that they would have to use, the former Leaf, that they would probably have to, they would have to buy out Alex Steen.
Alex Steen, yeah.
I don't think that's enough.
But now, what if because we've heard whispers about like the possibility of compliance bias, but I don't know, is there anyone else you can see that would be a candidate on there, Alex, or just no?
Yeah.
Carl Gunnarsson.
No, but Carl Gunnarsson makes 1.7. It's that or Jake Allen. And that's still not enough.
Tyler Bozak.
Yeah, Tyler Bozak. Okay, that's $5 million. Like I heard he was might get traded, Tyler Bozak, but again, I don't like so Bozak makes $5 million. Bozak makes 5. Jake Allen makes 4.3. That's 9.3 million. You have to re-sign Vince Dunn, and you have to re-sign Alex Pietrangelo. I think a lot of things there's a lot of things they have to do.
It all depends to me if Pietrangelo's willing to take a discount, and I think
though, right?
He would though. I mean, Stamkos did it to help a winning team
for sure.
Hedman did it, and I mean he's the captain there. I think that's, but it's going to be tough. But if he does leave, which does look likely, who are going to be the team? I think we're going to talk about Calgary in a second again.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who would be the front runners in your guys' mind to pick up Alex Pietrangelo?
Let's see. Who has a lot of cap space? Colorado does.
Montreal.
Yeah, I was thinking Montreal.
Columbus? They must have a bit.
They should. I don't know, like New Jersey.
I think if they overpay him, he goes to Columbus.
Oh, how about this?
Ottawa.
Lots of cap room. Want to spend a bunch of money. Kind of desperate to win. They would have to overpay him to make him come. Need a change in leadership and culture. Don't really have any stable defensemen on the right side.
Are you talking about Buffalo?
Buffalo.
It's so, yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be
the Erik Karlsson deal.
The Erik Karlsson deal. Okay, let me pull up Buffalo. You've started me on a path that good Lord. They have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
$34 million.
That happens when you have no depth.
Okay.
No players.
Pardon?
But they have no forwards. They have no players.
They got to re-sign Simmons, Frolik, Sam Reinhart, Jimmy Vesey, Zemgus Girgensson, Johan Larsson, Dominic Cahoon, Victor Olofsson, Curtis Lazar, Brandon Montour, not Lawrence Pilat because that guy's gone, and Linus Allmark, and Tage Thompson.
That's not a lot. The Reinhardt might cost you some, but
you can do it.
Olofsson, I think, is a prove me contract, and then
who gets a prove me contract?
Victor Olofsson.
Yeah.
Tage Thompson, you keep him. I love the guy. I don't know if he was part of that really infamous
O'Reilly trade, but I still believe in the guy. I still believe in the big mobile centers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, man, just don't sign anyone else. Start
just
anew with that depth. Yeah, I mean, I guess, from two perspectives. For Buffalo, just start anew. That core didn't work. And, yeah, save for Pietrangelo.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That'd be a nightmare.
We will go now to the main event, a ring-a-ding-ding. Guys.
Ding-ding.
We had a lot of news today, and we're going to go through point to try and get a few of it and see what's going on. But before we do, you there listening, enjoying the podcast right now, let's say you're listening to it on iTunes or Spotify. What you should do right now is go to YouTube and watch it, the podcast, with a video experience. And you can see what I am holding up to the screen right now. I'm sure you want to know what it is, but the only way you will is if you go check out the YouTube and a video experience. We got two subscribers from the live stream, by the way. You surpassed my channel. I'm pretty jealous. But in all seriousness, guys, nothing is yet officially confirmed, but we basically see that the NHL and the NHLPA have basically, but not really, approved a new CBA. And we'll go through all the big points here. First of all, an agreement between the NHL and the PA on major issues of Phase 3 and 4 of Return to Play. This was a big issue considering they're supposed to go to training camp in a few weeks. Alex went right to leaning on his hand because
it's such a messy situation that the NHL is in.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way I look at it, and some of this information, this is based off of what Dr. Fauci had said earlier in the pandemic, right? He goes, because there was talks about, the NFL is going to be like, oh, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want because they're the NFL and they don't care. And said, if you do the bubble system, it could work. Like it should work. Mm-hmm. As long as you do it in a proper manner where that if there is cases, you isolate that player, you test everyone and make sure that you don't have an outbreak, because where the issue comes is when you have an outbreak.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes.
Yeah.
Becomes difficult for me.
We'll talk especially a bit more about, players approving and when it comes to safety a little later on. But so I think it's a very big. We'll mention it now then. So by the way, the first few points, I'm going to try before I say it, who I originally saw the information from. So the first points I originally saw from Bob McKenzie. This next piece I saw from Frank Saravelli as well from TSN, that players, as in any player, can choose to opt out of Return to Play. Mm-hmm. And I think, guys, that this is massive. And it's for this one question I want to ask you guys. How much does a family member influence a player's decision? Like, I'm it up again, but you're Angela Price, you're pregnant, you have 2 kids already, and Carrie's gone off for how? You're Jeff Petrie, you have a few young children. How big of an influence is these players' families going to be in either letting them go or stopping them from going to play in this play-in round and the playoffs in general?
Yeah.
I think it's a lot. I think it's not. I think talked about before. It's not really a trend right now with the NHL, but I think as things open up more, we're gonna see more of these stories. We saw already a lot of it in the MLB. A lot of guys saying, this is how my family is. This is the situation. I'm not playing this year, and it's like the entire season for them and their playoffs. The NBA, like you see. I know there's been like a bit of an outbreak, but it's also players opting out, like Kevin Durant, like the Brooklyn Nets, literally have half a team right now.
Yeah,
like they still have to figure out how they're gonna fill their entire roster. So I think that these are really big factors that are gonna come to the NHL as well, especially when they kind of get up to that point where it's like, oh, this is where I am with my family, and this is something I really need to consider, especially for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah, I think they'll play a big part, and based on. Like, this doesn't come as a surprise to me about the opting out. The NBA's doing it. The MLB's doing it. I believe the MLS was doing it as well. So that really, to me, it doesn't come as a surprise. If they didn't do it, I would be very surprised.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm interested in seeing how they do because – I'm interested in seeing how they explain to the players how the bubble system is going to work, and if they actually explain it in a way that they use science to back it up. Because I think the issue is right now is that everyone's in their own hub city. They're not bubbled off. They're still interacting with other people. So it's like, to me, to have these minor, like, I know yesterday a couple days ago, there was 11 new positive cases. And then a few episodes ago, there were 16. To me, that's not a surprise because they're not in a technical bubble, right? No. They're living life. Like, they still can go to the grocery store. They have to take the proper precautions, but they still know there's a chance that they can get it. Mm-hmm. Whereas the bubble, it's a little bit different.
I would also hope that they have already explained this to the players before the players signed off, but that is also something we're going to talk about.
Have the players signed off on phase 3 and 4? Because I haven't read that anywhere.
Apparently, from what I read from Bob, was that most issues have been, but it's just like the last few things are. Okay.
By the way, pending hiccups, I heard.
Yes, and
They say that about everything.
And Bob says that, and he's put this like in reference to all his tweets out there, that not confirmed, but Friday or Saturday is the plan for the league to officially announce, because you can hear the report like when we did with the 2014 play-in, but then you need to also hear the league itself, and that takes a little more because business stuff that I don't understand, but you have to do it. Next little thing, also from Bob McKenzie, I saw originally, a big issue was the possibility of signing bonuses. Over $300 million was due to players and signing bonuses today because, again, it's July 1st. That's kind of the turnaround date, the cycle, next flip for contract years. I'm just going to quickly read you guys. This is from David Pagnotta on Twitter about some of the top 16 bonuses being paid out for today. Tyler Seguin, Jacob Trouba, Brent Burns, Chris Kreider, and Jamie Benn, that's a bad deal, $8 million. Stamkos and Vasilevsky, 8.5. Carey Price, 8.75. Sebastian Aho, thanks, 9.875 for the Carolina Hurricanes, who can't pay their own staff, by the way. There you go. Hope the Storm Surge is paying for it. Erik Karlsson's getting $10 million. Roman Josi, $11 million. John Tavares, 11.09. Panarin, who was kind of vocal about this stuff, that's funny, $12 million. Connor McDavid, $13 million. Mitch Marner, $14.3, and Austin Matthews, $15.2 million. Yeah. And we do know that these players are getting their signing bonuses, which is very good for them.
I don't think they're getting all of that, though, right? Because of escrow.
I was going to get to escrow in a second. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't put your headphones that close to the mic.
Oh, that's my mistake, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think so. Or it was the
it sets the force. I don't know.
Or it was the Sharpie pen that you were using. I don't know.
Ooh, I hope I didn't mark anything there. Sorry, I'm just.
It was the eerie feeling of those signing bonuses. It's like too crazy.
Regardless, we also do know there's a 10%. This is from I saw with Friedman. I believe it was a 10 or 20%. I think it's 10. Rollback on salaries for next year. We also know that for next season it will be 20% escrow. And then years afterwards, it will be going down.
It's usually 10%, right?
Yeah, around that figure.
I know Adam's going to hate me for this, but for some players, that's quite bad money.
Yeah.
Why would I hate that?
Well, because the escrow is the issue.
Yeah. What is the example? Use Dale Weiss. I thought Josh Levo.
Well,
by the way, what Daniel means is, because I don't think we were recording, I said earlier that I don't have sympathy. I said that, listen, if cheese is $8, I'm not buying it. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for Artemi Panarin, who's getting a $12 million salary signing bonus. Yeah. I know agent fees and escrow, it's still a lot more than some people make in a lifetime. Mm-hmm. But I feel for a guy like Dale Weiss, who might be on the edge.
Who could still make more than people would be. Yes. How much does Dale Weiss make?
He's made some money, man.
No, I know, but what's his current contract?
900,000? No.
2.2 something.
2.2. Okay. He lives in Montreal. like half of the money.
Rent is cheap.
The funny thing is, like, you look at the players who play in Canada, like, they're not getting half of the money.
Dale Weiss can make a living being a Hab just for that series against the Bruins.
Yeah.
But next, hold on a minute. This is from Pierre LeBrun specifically. He mentioned, I'm going to paraphrase here, that, and this is very important, pending info from the IOC, it looks like the NHL have set forth that the players can return to the Olympics. And the way Pierre LeBrun said that this would then cover the 2022 Winter Olympics and 2026, which means, guys, we can have a possibility. I saw this tweet earlier. I can't remember who it was from. I'm going to steal it.
Rachel Dory.
Nathan McKinnon. Rachel Dory? All right, I'm so sorry, Rachel. Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, and Sidney Crosby on the same team. Again, pending IOC, guys, but how do we feel that the star players have the door open to go to the Olympics and the other players get a vacation?
Can I be honest?
Yeah, sure.
I'm fine with them going. I think they're going to regret this.
How's that?
In 2022, think about it like this. They're playing hockey in January this year, right? We're starting the league in January.
That was the aim towards the end.
That's the aim. And it could go farther, right? So January is the starting point. So they're going to play January. They're going to play full 82-game season plus full playoffs. That'll take them to what? Middle of the summer.
Yes.
Then they're going to start again when? They're not going to start in October. They're going to start in November, December.
There has been talk that I think Friedman's been saying that they want to change the season around. But then if it's when are the Winter Olympics normally? I don't even remember.
January, February?
Yeah. January, February, yeah.
So what are you going to do?
You don't have training camp, which players love.
I think there's going to be an issue, and I think they're going to play so much hockey in the next 2 years. I don't know if they're going to like that.
Hey, I thought it was a bit petty to bring up the whole Olympic stuff anyway. Like, I understand why to do it, but like when I started seeing
sorry, go.
It's just that thing that, you bring up. That
I think this is the best time for them to bring it up.
Oh, yeah. Like, listen,
players want to go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Daniel?
Because players want to go, but, it's just the whole – they don't realize how much the fatigue comes in and just gets like – I guess we talked about the John Tavares example. We always use that example.
Yes.
Guy breaks his leg. The Islanders don't make the playoffs. But there's always those issues. And there's also like the business side of things where it's like, do you get like close to nothing on this compared to like an all-star weekend?
0.
Yeah.
So,
you can't even use the footage.
No.
When was the last time you saw footage of a Olympic game on TV?
Well, Friedman they used some clips, but then when the golden goal, he was interviewing Crosby in the home theater, but then the moment it was the golden goal, they couldn't put the footage, which is a travesty to broadcasting everywhere. But listen, I know it was the time you had to do it, but I'm not going to lie. I get pretty upset when it takes a pandemic for everyone to get their act together. I'm not going to lie. I know it's then when leverage becomes a factor. I understand all that. Don't worry. I'm just my personal feelings. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I think this was the league caving in.
Yeah, well, look at what happened with the MLB. Like, yeah, the NHL were going to be at a disadvantage here. So next little bit of stuff. This is more
quickly. Yeah. I think I remember this was a few weeks ago that the NHL was looking at putting like escrow at like 35%. Do you remember hearing that? Daniel, sorry, we can't hear you, man.
Oh, that was crazy, that number.
Right. No.
We still can't hear you, buddy.
You're really low. No? It's like now. Perfect.
Now
whatever
you can hear me? All right, okay.
What'd you say?
No, I remember seeing that. That was really insane. 35%.
I wonder if they lowered that number and gave them the Olympics.
Whatever.
I'm interested to see how the negotiations go with the IOC, because that's been a real point of our, like, that seems like it's been a pain in the ass the last few years.
That was probably the reason they didn't go last time. It was
Yeah.
But next sort of issue here, and this is probably my biggest takeaway, or second biggest, because that's either some more content. It's cap stuff generally. The next 2 seasons, we will have a flat cap staying at $81.5 million. The third year, it will move up $1 million to $83.5, which means if you are close to the cap ceiling, and this is a big reason why we talked about Pietrangelo maybe leaving, if you're one of those teams, you are not in a good position.
Yeah.
So while we're quickly on this note of the cap stuff, and again, we talk about the Leafs and the Habs, who are kind of in 2 different sort of situations here. Sorry about my phone. That the Canadians are not, the competitive force the Leafs are, but luckily right now they have cap space. Even though the moment they have to sign a star or two, it's going to add up with Weber and Price's deal as well. Meanwhile, you have the Leafs who are still fighting. They are one of the better teams in the league. They have all the offensive power in the world, but I think it's safe to say that, like every other team in the league, they were hoping that the cap was going to go up. And the way I had Mike call me at like 10 p.m. once, and he's like, man, I think he had 1 or 2, and he was like, 4 forwards making this much. I was like, oh no. So my 2 Leaf friends, 2 of my many Leaf friends.
1.5. Daniel's half.
1.25.
Daniel's half a Ducks fan.
What does this mean for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Or Daniel, do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
I don't necessarily know how much it changes. I think I think now, that we're talking about Janssen, one of Janssen, Kapanen, or Kerfoot gone. And I think Kapanen was kind of moved out of that conversation. But I really think now both Janssen and Kerfoot will be traded to get rid of some cap space, and hopefully bring in a right-handed defenseman that can play with Morgan Riley.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be they were going to be cap strapped anyways. I think this just makes it a little more difficult, but I'd be interested to see what they do. I don't think they trade one of the big four.
Mm-hmm.
I think where it becomes really what they really have to consider for the future is next year Anderson's up and Hyman's up. And the year after that, a year or two after that, Riley's up. And the cap's not going to be moving. So I think at that point, you look at saying, okay, who has developed? I don't think you panic and trade one of them now, because I think moving Janssen moving Janssen and Kerfoot, I think you have enough depth in the system to fill out bottom six roles.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at developing Engvall as a center. You can look at having Spezza play, sometimes playing third line minutes, and having Gauthier play fourth line minutes. It's not the ideal situation. You have Barabanov. Can he play center? I think there's a lot of questions about guys they've brought in, but I don't think you panic and trade I think the most obvious one to most people is William Nylander. I don't think you do that now. I think you do that in a year or two, when you really have to re-sign Freddie and Riley.
Mm-hmm. Daniel?
I kind of feel the same way too. Like Alex brought up Janssen and Kerfoot. Those are the two obvious guys. I kind of feel that, you could afford to kind of move those contracts, get some wiggle room. They have, like the Marlies, they're great with bringing up guys. Dubas is going to keep going to the KHL every summer, or every pause to the league. He's gonna get somebody. I think so. I don't know. Like one other thing too. I know like it's not too much, but like I thought like Justin Holl, like
Joseph Holl.
Wait, no, Justin
Holl. Yeah, Justin Holl.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think. No, I think it's a guy that. Like for what they paid him, it is a bit of a premium for what he does. He didn't really show that he should be here long term. It's like it's the kind of thing where you can kind of don't take too much off the defensive core, but it's someone I could kind of feel that you could move that guy to add a bit more of that cap space.
Yeah, and I think another big thing to consider is what are Sandin and Liljegren what are they gonna look like at the beginning of next season, whenever that is, because I think that answers a lot of defensive questions, like in terms of your bottom pairing, right?
You still have Martin Marincin.
You still have Martin Marincin. Like, what do you do? Like, you just brought in Lettinen. Do you try him with Muzzin? Like, that I don't know. Do you put him with Riley? I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But the fact that the cap isn't moving for the next 2 years and only going up $1 million the year after is a little unsettling.
Again, 1.5 growth over 3 years. When I believe it was at 79 to 81 this year, and I mean it's not just Toronto. Arizona, I almost said Phoenix.
A lot
Arizona
of
are somehow up there because of their shenanigans.
The Bruins.
The Bruins are going to figure it out. I'm not going to say Tampa because they'll figure it out too. But yeah, a lot of teams are going to be messed up by this. But there may be some saving graces because teams love – again, it's July 1st, which means all day you see stuff like the Tavares the signing in Toronto. You see the Milan Lucic stuff. This is also from Elliot Friedman that the NHL fought for contract structures and kind of reviewing stuff, specifically limits on signing bonuses, less salary fluctuation from year to year. So the way I understand that, and I find it interesting he didn't say term. because Freeman has talked about it before, but at the same time, if it was an issue as big as term for players, I think we would have heard of it.
Yeah.
But this, to me, actually seems to be a way of taking advantage away from richer teams from being able to like inflate your kind of like it's the strength of the Leafs and Habs that they are able in LA. All these type of teams are able to front load these deals to bring in free agents, and I don't like it.
Yeah, just quickly going back, 19 teams are $1.5 million within the salary cap. 19.
Wow. Adam, you're muted.
Okay. Just to go off, I guess, Daniel, or if you want to start, you can go ahead.
Oh, no.
Okay, just to go off what Adam was saying, I think, another thing the league is doing, playing their parity card. I think this was really more Adam brought up the term. I don't think you're going to hear the players talk about term. I think for them, the longer the better. It's security for them. They're getting that money. I think it's more of an owner standpoint who are looking for that term to be reduced. In terms of the salary, I think they're just trying to they're creating more. They're creating more parity, and I don't know if that's good. Like, do you remember the team who won 1 Stanley Cup in 10 years, or do you remember the team who won 3 Stanley Cups in 10 years? Like, we talk about the dynasty, the Montreal Canadiens dynasties. We talk about the New York Islanders dynasties. We talk about the Edmonton Oilers dynasties. We'll talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins dynasty, whether it was one if you want to put together their runs in 08 and 09 plus the last 2 cups. We're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors dynasty.
What about the 2007 Anaheim Ducks?
Well, we'll talk about that. Sure, we will. But I just they keep pushing this parity. And it's like, man, like at a point, who are you satisfying? The owners? Like, I think at the end of the day, I don't know how interested fans are going to be in this parity.
It's going to make free agency a bit more stale, I think. We always hype them up. We love the TSN Sportsnet coverage of them. As fans, it's like something that you want to see there. You want to see the big names get moved, but like it's becoming increasingly more difficult. And like that term, like I know that like sometimes it really does not work out, a lot of these terms, but they're just interesting to kind of analyze as well moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I think term was really like it's the NHL trying to it's the league saving GMs from themselves. And I mean, like term has always been such like Jason Botterill himself. The report saying that he sees that teams get themselves messed up with term, right? So if it was like that, but like I'm while you guys are talking, I'm trying to think of another angle that maybe the league are thinking, but I can't do it.
Yep.
So, I like what you said, Adam, where you said like GM saving themselves from this. I think where it is right now with term, I think it's a good number. We're not seeing the Duncan Keith, the Roberto Luongo, the Marian Hossa, the Ilya Kovalchuk contracts anymore.
I would like it lower to 5. I won't lie to you.
Right? It's 5.
It's like the NBA, yeah.
You look at what I think the NBA – I think the NBA gets so much attention on July or whenever their free agency is. I don't think it's July 1st. It's around the same time.
Yeah.
It is?
It's just
it's just before, right?
It's just weird. So like the big names on July 1st, they get into talks with teams, but they don't actually sign like until like a week later. But like that's why there's a story on it every day.
Yeah, and I think they get so much attention on that day because so many teams switch. So many names, God damn it! So many players switch teams, right? Like we're looking at 2021, where you have Giannis, you have Kawhi. I think you have a bunch of other players. I think you have Paul George.
Yeah.
All these guys are going to be
team.
Who?
The
entire Clippers team. All these massive guys are going to be free agents, and it's like, oh man, what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, I think, well, maybe like I don't know. It doesn't seem like I think in the NHL, a lot of players just big guys end up re-signing with their team.
That Steven Stamkos hype of 2016.
Yeah.
Man, don't even bring that back up. I mean, yeah, it's like that's why Tavares was such a shakeout. He's like the biggest free agency, tester, dipping your toe in the water since Chara.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think about how long ago that is. I don't think of Chara as anything but a Bruin, but you've heard he was like a Sen. He was an Islander somehow.
I wonder if that change that experience changes players' mentality. Right, like last year you saw Panarin dip his toe in free agency. This year you're going to see Taylor Hall and Siri just turned on. Okay, you're going to see Taylor Hall and potentially Alex Pietrangelo, potentially Torrey Krug dip their toe into free agency. Like these are the biggest names in their free agent pool, and they're legitimately going to test free agency. And I feel like before Tavares, we didn't really see that as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was rumors,
one instance,
but they ended up signing with their team.
I just remember one instance. It was 2009. I remember that was when Martin Havlat was still an All-Star, and he went from Chicago to Minnesota and then because he replaced Marian Gaborik, who went to the Rangers, and then Hossa replaced Havlat on Chicago. So that was the only time I saw like this carousel of All-Stars replacing each other on these teams because they're all right wingers.
I hear Gaborik and I'm like, I forgot he was good. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Okay. The last piece of news to talk about here is I don't even know whether to call it news because yesterday it was like rumors. Toronto, Chicago, Vegas had just lost their spot. But Bob McKenzie has reported, and CP24 were confident enough to they've been reporting it all day because I had CP24 on. It is believed that the two hub cities for the playoffs will be Edmonton and Toronto. And this is where I'm very pissed off. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys this. My grandmother died last January, and we have been trying to get her ashes over for a very long time because it's not easy. It's also expensive, too, because they take advantage of people who have just lost a loved one. It's not easy to do. Here's what really gets me mad. If we were to try and go and get her ashes and come back, the government has just extended the travelers 14 days. Okay? Mm-hmm. And again, athletes are exempt from it. Okay?
Partially. Wait, which athletes? Sorry.
Remember, the government are saying, like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right? That's what's pissing me off. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the idea of, hey, I like having in a Canadian city. I get it because the states have just been a crapshoot. But I think, okay, you have players in New York, you have players in Dallas, and how bad have those states been? And you're in an influx, not only bringing the Europeans over who, hey, they've been a lot better. Apparently they've just been like in rinks in Sweden forever now. But now you are then going to bring this exodus of players from the States. And I'm going to forget about sports for a second. As a member, someone who lives in Pickering, just outside the city, I don't want that. Hundreds of people, 50 from each organization coming here.
Yeah, I think the number is somewhere around it's 600 player or per team personnel plus I think it was around 150 league personnel. So 750 people.
And this is also when I have a problem with the players. Okay? Because it has been said, Eric Engels had talked to a bunch of players and privately had all of these concerns about is it going to be safe to come back?
Yeah.
And apparently they've now agreed to most of this stuff for return to play. And now a few days ago, again, when Eric Engels reported all this stuff, they had told Eric Engels, that, a very trusted reporter, by the way, that they were having talks more about money than safety itself. And now we've just come back now after apparently a grueling night of negotiations. How much do these players really know? And here's the problem. NHL players, I'm going to forget about hockey culture, especially if you're a member of, if you're your team's representative, like a guy like Paul Byron, you have a family, okay? You are now like I refuse to believe that these players now, not only them, but then the representatives going to their teams, really understand how these bubbles are going to work. Also, if you take one wrong turn outside of Union Station to an exit, you are right next to Scotiabank. How are you going to bubble all of that off? You're cutting off the city, and restrictions in Toronto are being lifted and lifted. So you're going to have more people out on the streets, and you're now going to sacrifice part of the city.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know the MLSE put this was a couple weeks ago. Whenever there was the issue with the Vancouver bid, so maybe last week, they submitted an updated bid. The thing is, I don't know what was in the updated bid, so I don't know. But I know they submitted an updated bid. So they put a plan in place. It's a matter of, and I don't think that's something they're going to release. They're willingly going to release to the public. I think maybe eventually one of Friedman, CJ, McKenzie, Simmons.
The big guys will have it.
One of the big guys will come out with it.
I kind of agree too. Like the fact that all these restrictions are coming out, you're already seeing it here and there where, people are seeing the weather. They they're restless. They want to go out. And then you're just giving the city another excuse that, you're not allowed to go to the game, but that's going to cause crowds, man. Hype.
But then the issue is, whose issue is that? The crowds. I think it's a legitimate question. Like, if you have a proper plan in place, I'm giving a hypothetical here. Mm-hmm. You have a proper plan, bubble wise. You say, okay, this is this, and this. Are you concerned about the people crowding, or is that the city's issue?
I think regardless, it has to be part of.
Yeah, I think it has to be a concern. Like,
okay, but then if that's the concern, you don't do there's going to be crowds. Even if it wasn't in Toronto, you think there wasn't going to be crowds anyways?
I think it's
I think there's going to be crowds, and I think then if that's a consideration, we shouldn't be playing sports for a while because there's going to be crowds.
Yeah, my opinion is you should have just canceled everything. I know that's how I always kind of felt.
And then the next question is, when do you play sports? Because this pandemic isn't going away anytime soon.
Yeah,
that's Fauci was saying with the vaccine that it might be 75%. Work 75%. Mm-hmm. So we'd still have to watch out. So the next question is, when is it okay to play, to do these type of, not have fans in the buildings? That's a separate question. When is it okay to start the leagues back up again?
That's the thing I kind of felt, because I think that that was my own personal opinion, where I think that you shouldn't have just scrapped some things for now, just to not have these kind of talks that you give these bite-sized updates for literally everyone who's involved. What my opinion was, since you're gonna have to do it this way, I think the safest thing was you don't put it in two of the hockey crazed cities in Canada. That, coupled with the fact that you have people who have they want to go out, they want to have an excuse to be like, let's go see this.
What worries me?
But where are they going to go?
I don't know. I think
they party.
Okay, but but if the issue is having it in Toronto and they're going to party, you can have it in Edmonton and Chicago. They're still going to party in Toronto.
But
in South Dakota.
So that's what I'm saying is.
Here's the big problem I have. That it sounded like Vegas, and I think Friedman said this himself, the bubble was airtight. And how in a matter of about a week, that went back. So if Vegas, who you had put your bets on since the beginning of this, that can go away, again, you guys
they just completely opened up. That's
all three of us, guys, we love this sport. I love this sport. I want to talk about it for the rest of my life. If I don't get to watch hockey for a week, I'm fine with – sorry, not a week. If I have to spend 6 months not being able to watch hockey for the greater freaking good of a pandemic, I am okay with it.
But, okay, that's fine. I agree with you, but if we're going based, and I'm fine with it, going based on what both of you are saying, it's going to be longer than 6 months, because if what they're saying is true and what I've read is going to happen, there's going to be a second wave in October and November. So then we're pushing. I'm fine with it. I'm just like, we're pushing it back more than 6 months, right? It's probably at least a year.
That's tough. Then you have to do it. You're sports. You're not important. You're not
That's
important.
fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Simply,
okay.
You're not a doctor. You're not a dentist. That's just not it. I don't get to see. I'm supposed to see my orthodontist once a month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to see them again until September, and I was supposed to have jaw surgery. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I just, and they're like, we argued about the testing, but Alex, you're right. Like testing is gone, but even they don't even know. It was, I'm not going to get into the science of it, but 60 Minutes had a really good report about how, like, they still don't really have the virus down pat in certain aspects. So, fantastic there.
Okay, so yeah, no, because I'm just being devil's advocates here.
Yeah,
because I think this is a lot, and I think the issue with not playing for a year is a lot of money. Like, we're talking billions of dollars.
Mhm.
Like, and Adam's already making a face. I could tell he's not happy with this, but it's a reality. That's what they're thinking. Yeah. Like, you can't sit there and you want to be realistic. This is their thought process.
Mm-hmm. And I do, like, and yeah, you're right. Like, besides, like first of all, like, owners, I don't care about you. Like, you're terrible people. You're greedy. But I do acknowledge that there are some players, or like most players, it's their living.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But I just don't think it is worth it. Like, if there was really an element of safety, I just don't think you bring it in Toronto. Like,
but if there's a plan, if there is an airtight plan, which we don't actually know, no one knows anything. Surprisingly, no one knows anything about the Toronto bid. I haven't heard a single piece of information come out about the Toronto bid. We knew the Vegas one was airtight. I haven't heard a single thing about this one.
Kind of just happened to me, I think. Like, when I was reading, like, okay, I guess Toronto.
So what?
Every day, So it's like every day was like new teams of run or new team, like whatever.
So if there's a plan that works, like, I'm looking at how other leagues are doing it. Like, I'm looking at Europe. I'm looking at the UFC. Like, they've managed to do it and contain it.
You keep bringing up the UFC. You cannot compare them. The number of people.
Okay, so I'll throw at UFC. There's soccer where they're going to different stadiums across the country.
My problem here is Europe isn't a lot. Like, listen, they don't have the states biting at their heels, or some states have been worse than when the pandemic was at its quote peak.
Okay, but we're not talking about the states anymore. We're talking about having 2 Canadian hub cities.
Yes, you're bringing in American players, and they're like, oh no, it's not just.
So were they? They're bringing in players across the world. They're bringing in players across the world. They are bringing in players across the world. Not all Italian players play in the Italian
That's
league.
not what I said, Alex. What I mean is, like, you are still, and I did say earlier, you're still bringing everyone across.
Yeah.
But then the worst part is you're bringing the players from America, and just you turn on the news for 5 minutes and you see how much worse things have gotten there. And if I can't trust, the politicians and I very much purposely use air quotes there to take care of this, I'm not going to trust. I don't trust the players at all. I really do not. Because if they were quarantined properly, there shouldn't be cases like this. How did Austin Matthews get it? How did any of the Sens players get it?
I don't know. I've read people who haven't left their house and still got it in a condo building. Anyone who's living in a condo, you can get it. I'm just telling you. I'm reading this online, right?
I have gone crazy being in my room to the point where, like, we are renovating a basement.
Yeah.
I will not believe that those players are going to be stuck in hotels and rinks and not have the urge to do something stupid. I do not, and it's not just players. Okay, I don't trust humans, period. And I don't trust the people in Edmonton and Toronto to not go out in the streets and be idiots about this as well.
Okay, so But you don't know any. The issue I have is that you're speaking all on no information about the Toronto bid. You don't know. No one in this call knows anything about the Toronto bid. If they have a plan, like, and again, I'm going back to the other leagues, because if I'm the NHL, I'm calling every single league in Europe and saying, how are you making sure that the players aren't leaving their house? Because when a player in Europe leaves their house to go to a grocery store, you're banned. You're out for 2 weeks. No question. A guy went to go get toothpaste at a grocery store and had to miss a game.
Well, clearly the league hasn't done that. I mean, they didn't.
But how do you not? You don't know anything about the plan.
Alex, the league didn't have the CBA sorted out and signing bonuses until today. They were camps in 2 weeks. I don't trust them. This is the NHL. They're not a very progressive league. They're always 4th and 5th. I don't trust them to go and contact other leagues. I doubt they have.
Okay.
Have they? I'm sure they've been like general testing and that, but I mean, like, I don't think they're going to go to the MLB and be like, so you're traveling. No, I wouldn't go to the MLB. And that's another thing. The fact that the MLB looks like they're traveling cities. Like, what's going to go on with the Jays?
Yeah, that's a completely different set of questions for sure.
Players coming in and out.
Yes, so I'm agreeing with you.
Sports. Okay. I'm talking as somebody who lives in the GTA. Now, like, this is like. This is my biggest issue here. Is like, I'm like, the human side of all of this is such a problem. And like, I'm listen, do I have the answers of how you then support those players? Listen, this year they are all paid technically. Then when it comes to next season, I don't know what you do. I'll be honest.
Well, the league just shut out the league just shut out $300 million today. Right?
It's a pit. It doesn't matter if you're putting people's lives at risk.
No, I'm not arguing that. You're saying you don't like. How are you going to handle the players?
That's what I'm saying.
You just gave them $300 million.
I don't know.
Okay,
but that should be the league's responsibility, and I think clearly they have not put safety first here. Okay. They haven't, because otherwise players wouldn't have been going to reporters and saying, "I'm hearing more about money than I am seeing."
Well, let's talk about that then. Why? I have a major issue with the time and time again. And we talked about at the beginning, like, why are you going to reporters? How about you open your mouths on your own social media pages? Why does Eric Engels have to tell me players are concerned? Why is Kevin Bieksa telling me players are concerned? How about you open up your mouths? I've heard multiple MLB players do it. I've heard multiple NBA players do it. Like, come on.
Are we going back to hockey culture again? Just the whole team mentality?
It makes you wonder how many players are actually going to opt out too. That's something I worry about, is how many of them are going to feel pressured to. As in, to not opt in and to show up for camp.
And then at that point, if they don't opt out, whose problem is it? It should be theirs, because they said, you were given the option at that point to not go, and you said, I'm not going to go because I don't want to be mocked. I don't want to be whatever. I don't want to be what? Because you didn't want to speak out. At that point, it's their problem, the player's problem.
Especially if they have families. Like, you imagine probably that, like, there's definitely going to be a cutoff in age, like the younger players, I imagine, would be less likely. Like, of course, there's going to be exceptions. Like, Max Domi, wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play. But, like, older players, like Joe Thornton, I don't think should run the risk of this at all, because he has kids and he's one of those guys that are older, like Chara and Marlowe. I don't see why they would take the risk at all.
I don't know. I think a lot of those guys are going to end up playing. Like, Spezza's like, yeah, I'm going to play. I'm like, okay, do whatever you want, man. I can't. You've chosen to, whether you actually believe that it's a concern or not is your choice. But if you believe it's a concern and you still go and you don't say anything, at that point, you haven't done all that you can do. You haven't even done the minimum. Yeah. I don't, like, at that point, I don't know how I'm supposed to have sympathy for the players for not speaking out and still going.
Yeah, we talked about the 2014 playoff thing. If only two groups of teams, or if only two organizations were going to go out and say no about that, then, like, I don't have faith in the rest of the league to say something about that.
But that vote was specifically for the playoff format, though. That wasn't about the CBA or the safety. That vote was strictly.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
But what I mean is, like, also, like, in regards to the report today, that apparently it's okay. Like, everyone's saying, "Hey, okay, buddy, iron out details."
No, I don't know the answer to this. Maybe you do. Are the next votes? I know the 2014 playoff format was the representatives voting. Is the next one all players get to vote?
Oh, that's.
I don't know for sure, because I think normally it's like the representatives naturally are the representatives, but I don't know for sure. Yeah. I think it should be, though. Like, it should be all players.
Because I think that usually happens when it comes to the CBA.
Yeah, you imagine if it's a serious enough topic, and this is pretty serious.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I read that somewhere, but I don't want to confirm it. So
I don't even want to think of how long we've gone for today.
I think an hour and a half.
Alex, I love you, man. You know that.
Yeah,
I love you guys.
How many arguments have we gone into?
A lot. And
I think this one's.
I started at 94% on my battery. I'm now at 6% on my max. What were you saying, Daniel? Sorry.
I love you guys.
Love you too, man. All right.
Wait, Alex didn't say it.
I love you guys too. I just want to see if you noticed.
Well, if you enjoyed this heated episode of the podcast, there's lots of different ways you can show your support for the show. First of all, I've mentioned already, be sure to go check out the show's YouTube channel for a visual experience of the podcast. Why not go check out, as well, our draft lottery stuff. That was a great episode. Had Mike, some great reactions. See us laugh at the Detroit Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators a bit. You can also check out the show's Facebook and Instagram pages. All of our socials, my YouTube channel, all that, Alex's blog, Daniel, I'm sure somewhere they can get to your eye opener stuff and all that lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely business. Besides that, sorry?
I said lovely jubbly.
Lovely jubbly. On iTunes and that, be sure to give a 5-star rating and a review. Really helps the show grow. And let us know if you had to pick a team to get Alexis Lafreniere, who would it be? Any of them.
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. Oh, I feel so bad for them. They always beat Montreal, too. It'd be a slap in the face. All right, that's everything. Goodbye, and we love you.